Sip the truth, spit the hype, light the fuse and make it toast. We're calling out the nonsense on the health hype roast. Roast it, toast it, if it's rubbish we expose it. Gut gang riding, booch bottles coasting. Welcome to the health hype roast, kid, where your wellness gets slow cooked in motion.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Health Hype Roast, and today we're tackling one of the most controversial diets, or maybe not controversial, but definitely one of the most talked about.
Divisive for sure, isn't it? Divisive, yeah.
Definitely. We're talking about the carnivore diet. And we are going to be sinking our teeth right into it and having a look at one of the most aggressive trends dominating social media. So if you've been on TikTok, you've been on YouTube or Instagram lately, you've probably seen a lot of people chewing on sticks of raw butter. Yeah, I've seen that. Eating ribeye steaks for breakfast. Guilty, I've done that for breakfast, lunch and dinner, and declaring that vegetables are literally trying to poison us. It sparked a massive lifestyle movement with some hardcore variants like the Lion Diet, which is just beef, salt and water, and it's taken over the internet. Who can forget the famous Liver King? Oh my God, who turned out he was on all sorts of steroids. But anyway, I'm joined as always by my co-host, clinical nutritionist James Ellis. James, people online are throwing away their broccoli and claiming that an all-meat diet is the ultimate human health hack. Right, let's slice into the science and see what's actually going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. So shall we start with what the carnivore diet is then?
Yeah, big time.
Right, let's take away the social media stuff about it. So effectively, it's the ultimate elimination diet, right? An elimination diet is where you take foods obviously out of what you're eating. And the carnivore pretty much leaves plant foods in. So, meat-based foods, animal-based foods in. So, yeah, meat, fish, eggs. Some people include dairy. But veggies, carbs tend to be stripped out totally. Then there are some extreme versions of it. Like you said, Lion Diet, pretty much beef, salt, water. So it's really, really a strict elimination diet. Now, it appeals to people because the rules are really, really simple, right? Eat meat.
Yeah. Who doesn't like meat?
Yeah, well, vegetarians, vegans, they hate it.
Well, they're screwed.
But aside from
this diet isn't for you.
Yeah. But you're doing no calorie counting. You're doing no calculations. You're doing no weighing out of food.
So this feels like it's about convenience.
So there is an element of convenience if provided you like meat. But basically, there's a simple rule. Did it have a face and did it breathe at some point? If the answer is yes, it's in.
Goldfish.
Everything else. Well, you could eat a goldfish if you wanted to. It wouldn't be my choice.
No,
I think they might be a little bony and tiny, but yeah. So, that's pretty much what it amounts to from what it is. Mm-hmm. I suppose, what is the theory behind it? The theory is meant to be that, there are loads of sort of like various poisonous or non-health giving elements in plants. Your protein's high, your fats are high, your carbohydrates are low. And so for some people, it seems to be working. I think there's a bit more nuance to it than that we'll get into down the road, but it does seem to work for some people.
Well, I'll tell you what, so obviously we're all about gut health, massive focus on that. I don't follow the carnivore diet religiously. I like a bit of balance because if you know about gut health, if you were to follow it to the strictest protocol, which you've just spoke about there, where are you getting your fibre from?
Well, you're getting no fibre, you're getting very few vitamins, you're getting some minerals because there's some minerals. So you're reducing things massively. And that tends to be where I'm always challenged, because I would always say, my advice would be to my clients, try and have the broadest diet that you can. Try and eat more stuff and be more varied. And allow yourself that sort of like exploration of food. This keeps it very, very narrow. And I suppose maybe one of the reasons that people are seeing these improvements when they first do it, because people are saying they get more energy, they lose weight. We need to reflect a little bit on what was their diet like before they actually switched to carnivore. Yeah. So if their diet was full of sort of like baked crappy goods, fizzy pops, lots of alcohol, really high sort of like saturated fats and trans fats and things like that. If that was all there first and you take all that out, well, you're taking a lot of crap out of somebody's diet.
Yeah.
So is there any wonder then that they feel better when they're eating? Because most meat is pretty straightforward. Yeah,
Yeah.
you do get various variations, whether it's organic or not, etc., farm raised, whatever it may be. But you are taking a lot of stuff out. You're taking a lot of stuff out that could be irritating to people. So once that happens, is there any wonder that they lose weight, feel better?
Yeah.
If you view it in context of their previous diet.
And it makes sense, doesn't it? And it's like, so obviously when you said you advise your clients to eat the broadest, that doesn't mean ultra processed foods. You're talking about whole foods.
Whole foods.
Just to clarify that.
It's a good point. Yeah.
And then the second thing as well is, just when we talk about meat, let's classify this. So for example, this may be sucking eggs for a lot of people, but you wouldn't do bacon in sausage in this, would you? Or would you do bacon?
So you could potentially. It would depend on the quality of the source of it. You know, if you're buying the cheap stuff that's full of nitrates, probably not. But if you've got a really high quality, like a local butcher who does his own bacon or his own sausages, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't include it. But inherently, you're looking for sort of like meat in its normal form rather than meat that is in some way, shape, or form been manipulated into something else, right? Because sausage, and your sausage would have to be a really high meat content to do it as well, because things like husk and stuff like that go into sausage to bulk it out and keep it together. So you need a really high meat percentage in your sausage. But other than that, there's no reason why you couldn't. But in its purest form, you're just looking at sort of like meat in its purest form as well. And when we say meat, we're talking about everything, right? Nose to tail. So
absolutely,
you're talking about heart, lungs, liver, kidney, the whole lot.
Falafel.
Yeah.
Falafel, man. And you can get that from any good butcher. They will sell you that. Just go in and ask for the dog food.
Yeah. Full offal, not falafels. Yeah. That's a totally different thing.
One of the butchers was a falafel, baby. Awful. Bloody hell. So what we're saying is, guys, if you're out there and you think, right, I'm going to give this carnivore diet a try, that doesn't mean that you go into the supermarket and get that packs of processed ham and pepperamis.
Yeah.
It's like proper. It's like a chicken breast. It's a bit of steak. It's like, and then like,
piece of liver,
all that kind of stuff, liver, and then the offal. Fish.
Shellfish, all that kind of stuff.
It's fish and shellfish in it.
Yeah, in the
carnivore diet.
Can work in the carnivore diet.
I thought it had to be like, well, maybe. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay, cool. So, right. That's the carnivore diet in a nutshell. I am going to loop back in because obviously, like I said, I follow the carnivore. I don't follow the carnivore diet, but because I have a lot of veg and I like that diversity because I know the importance of that for gut health. So I want to look back onto that later. But let's move on to the part of the podcast that I love where we look at some of the viral claims that we've seen on social media. And you know what I mean? Where we look at the marketing and the bro science behind this diet, that it's incredibly loud. Some influencers talk about meat as if it's a cure-all. Like if you just have this and only this, you will never get cancer. All that kind of stuff that you hear. I'm like...
Interesting stuff. Yeah, let's go through it.
Okay, so claim one, let's just go straight for this. Because this is I think this is ridiculous, but I want you to verify if it is ridiculous. So claim one that you see, and these are the exact words: plants are actively trying to kill you. The idea that anti-nutrients like lectins, oxalates, and phytates, so how do you pronounce that word? Phytates, it is, isn't it? In vegetables are causing widespread gut destruction and inflammation. Talk to us.
Okay, well, I mean, if plants are trying to kill us, they're doing an absolutely shit job at it, right? They are the worst serial killers ever. Because, I mean, it's just not happening. It's true that things like, your lectins, oxalates, etc., can cause some challenges in some people, but not in most people. And why is that? Because how you prepare food is important as well. So once things are either cooked, like some of those substances can break down, they can be fermented. So the idea that plants are actively trying to harm us is pretty much just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I mean, we no more said, guys. Our advice would be, you've got to have veg. You've got to have plant.
Look,
surely.
Yeah, I always look back to the blue zones, right? These are the 7 regions in the world where they have the highest proportion of centenarians, so people who live to 100 and beyond, and live actively to 100 and beyond, not in a not in a negative way. They're healthy, right? And all those places have some things in common, and those things tend to be a relatively varied diet that can vary somewhat depending on where the places are. They go outside, They work as a community together, and they have a wide variety of plant foods. So if the blue zones, where we know that people live the longest with the least disease, have plants in their diet, how can we even say that there's a chance that plants could be trying to kill us? It just seems totally, it's nonsense. It's one of those things that, there's a grain of truth behind it, in the fact that there are some chemicals in there that for some people, or some plant compounds in there that could, for some people, could potentially be harmful, but they have to be really, really high doses. They'd have to be prepared badly. And so, it's just a nonsense, really.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think the interesting thing about the blue zone is it's the whole lifestyle as well, isn't it? The diet plays a factor, but the one thing that you said there is like that they have that community and that human connection, which is massive.
Yeah, eating locally, so food that's grown
Big
locally. Plants tend to be grown organically, so that will have a role there as well. But yeah, absolutely. The people who are living the longest in the world have really varied diets. They don't have really strict diets. So that to me says everything that we need to know about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think just one last thing on this, because I don't want to labour it, but in the blues, let's say if you take the Mediterranean diet, one of the big things they have is a high polyphenol diet as well, which is massive.
Yeah.
And we won't dive into that here, but that is something that if you've listened to previous podcasts, you'll know is
high in
massive
things like olive oil and things like that, high in polyphenols, really, really good for you.
Yeah.
Carnivore diet would take those out. So yeah, it's challenging.
Agreed.
So I'm not saying don't do carnivore if you want to, but I would certainly mediate it the way you're doing by thinking about what else could you put in.
Yeah, absolutely.
That might be able to help. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, let's move on. Claim 2. You see this one a lot. There's a very famous influencer in the UK. You've probably seen him. He goes into supermarkets, picks up loaves of bread and says, "This is shit." So claim 2, it cures all autoimmune diseases and gut issues. Followers swear that eliminating fibre in plants completely resolves IBS, bloating and joint pain.
Well, it's an interesting one, really, because, your gut bacteria that actually obviously help manage your gut, help you process foods and things like that, they actually rely on plants as food to do what they do. When they eat plant foods, they release certain substances that help your gut and your body work better. So taking plant foods out would seem to be challenging from that point of view. I think the other thing as well, it comes back to what I was saying before, that if you take almost everything out of your diet that could be an allergen, so if you remove dairy, you remove gluten, you remove alcohol, you remove ultra-processed foods, you remove too much sugar, you remove food additives, you remove all those trigger foods in one go, is it any wonder that people immediately feel better? Because you're taking all the crap out of your diet anyway. What you're not doing is leaving some of the good bits in. Yeah. So that's the challenge there for me. So, and look, really, that's what an elimination diet is meant to do, right? I do elimination diets with my clients who come to me and they've got allergies or intolerances. We take a lot of foods out and we try and build back up and try and reintroduce as many foods as possible, trying to identify the trigger foods along the way. And that's exactly what a good elimination diet should do. We said before that carnivore's a form of an elimination diet, so we are eliminating lots of foods. Once you eliminate all the potential triggers, is it any wonder that some people report really positive things from it? Yeah, absolutely they will do. It reminds me a little bit of some of these really cheap allergy intolerance tests that you can get online. I'm talking about the 30, 40 ones that are on these sort of like deal websites and things like that, 30, 40 quid, where they claim to be able to take a hair from your head and to analyse whether you've got a food intolerance or not. Well, it's complete rubbish anyway because hair's an inert material. But effectively, all the reports that come back tell you to remove dairy, tell you to remove gluten, tell you to remove sugars. Once you remove all those things, of course you're going to feel better.
Yeah, big time, especially
100%.
sugars.
Yeah.
So, not all sugar's bad though.
Yeah.
Okay, so claim 3, it supercharges testosterone and mental focus. So this belief that zero carb, animal fat heavy eating optimizes hormonal health and eliminates brain fog. Where are we at with that?
So
I think this is one of the ones that's a bit more nuanced.
Yeah, so mental focus, there is potentially some benefits there because you're changing your body. Inherently your body burns carbs for fuel, right? Carbs that we eat. Once you take all carbs out, your body starts using fat for fuel. When it uses fat for fuel, it releases a substance called ketones. Ketones are quite good for brain health, for mental acuity and sharpness and things like that. And so there's an element there that has some some truth in it. I would argue that you want to work towards having a body that is what I'd call metabolically flexible. So you can burn both carbs when you need to, and you can burn fat when you need to. So, you want short, quick, fast energy. Carbs are going to be your fuel.
Mm-hmm.
You want long, slow, steady energy. You're doing, I don't know, an endurance race or something like that. Having higher fats and producing ketones will help with that. And so having that ability, training your body somewhat to be able to flex between the two is a really smart way of doing it.
So how do you do that?
So
don't go into in depth, but give a few things. So when you said, right, train your body to be able to burn carbs and fat as fuel, how do you train your body to do that?
So the easiest way to do it is have a normal diet, and on some days train fasted. Yeah, when you train fasted, your body's going to turn to body fat for fuel, because your gut's going to be empty. So that is the easiest. If you want one step to do, that's where I would start.
That's where you start.
Yeah.
I've just seen a recent report, actually. I don't have the source because it's only triggered back in my mind that I read it when you said that about training fasted, which was that the advice for women to train fasted is wrong, and they should be doing it. That works for men, but actually women should be doing it a little bit different. Let me find the source on that. But what's your take on it? Before I find the source, then we'll bring it back in a thing.
I've seen research that alludes to that. I've not seen anything that conclusively says that women should not train fasted. I would argue that some men should not train fasted, because some people, fasted training just doesn't suit them full stop.
Yeah. Big time. So it doesn't matter about men feeling it's like
so there are obviously there are biological differences.
Yeah.
In the way that our bodies operate and process things. And, I've said this before on our podcast, that for far too long, science has only looked at men and tried to apply the findings of it to women as well. And because women's bodies obviously work differently, they've got different hormonal systems, etc. It's not always the best thing. There should be, I'll get on a rant here, but there should definitely be more research into health around women, studies that focus on women specifically, and there aren't enough.
Yeah, it's starting though. It's starting.
It's getting there, but
there's not enough data.
Yeah, we haven't got 70, 80, 100 years of research behind us like we do for men.
For men. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's more challenging.
Okay,
so testosterone, yes, there are some elements here again, ketones, meat, etc., that will help. But there are lots of things that help with testosterone. Training regularly is good for testosterone. Getting enough sleep is good for testosterone. Reducing your stress levels is amazing for testosterone.
Yeah.
So it's not just about chucking loads of meat in and saying that's going to be a cure-all for your testosterone levels, because you can eat as much meat as you want. If you're not sleeping, if you're not de-stressed, if your gut's out of whack, all those things will have an effect on your testosterone levels.
Yeah.
So it's not just saying meat is a cure-all. I think it can help, which is why both you and I have relatively meat-heavy diets compared to a lot of other people, right?
Yeah.
I'm more paleo-Mediterranean, you're more carnivore light. But like I said, the lifestyle around food is really important too.
Yeah, big time.
What else we're doing in the other elements, and again, we've talked about this loads. I try not to bang on about it all the time, but the boring stuff works. Trying to make sure you get enough sleep. Try not to have too much alcohol. Trying to reduce your sugars where you can, and if there are appropriate times to have some sugars, try and de-stress. Train regularly. All those things will help with testosterone levels if you're suffering. And I know that we've got a testosterone podcast in the bag, so let's come back to that when we do that one. Yeah,
because I've got a testosterone test, blood test.
Well, I'm looking,
and I've not done it yet because I'm really scared of having my blood taken. I fainted, fallen off gurneys, and then I had a look at the vial. I was going to do it, and I had a look at the vial. There's a lot of blood that needs to come out.
Oh, mate, I'll come and do it.
But then we need the results. I'm like, oh my God. But so we need to do that, and then we'll do the test. Right. Okay, so that's 3 of the biggest claims that you probably would have seen about the carnivore diet on social media. So I hope that's kind of demystified it a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is, because we want balance on the podcast.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, yeah.
Who is the carnivore diet for? So obviously eating nothing but ribeyes and eggs isn't a standard dietary recommendation, but is there any outlier? Is there any kind of is there any population or segment of the UK or around the world where a short-term carnivore protocol actually makes clinical sense as a tool, but not perhaps as a full...
Yeah, you could potentially use it, I think, to identify food triggers in people. It's a really simple one, right? So, you're looking to find out what's triggering your symptoms, whether that be bloating, whether it be headaches, whether it be migraines, whether it be aches and pains in your joints or whatever. You're one of those people who's gone and tried every single thing out there, nothing's working for you. You probably want to come and work with somebody like me or a fellow nutritionist and go on an elimination diet for a while, and then try and reintroduce foods little by little. As I said, once you're removing most of the key irritants, then you're starting from a zero point to actually add things back in. And then you track what they're doing, what your symptoms are like after you've tried a portion of food, how big that portion is. You try and vary portion sizes. You try not to mix things up. So you wouldn't reintroduce on an elimination diet. Pizza wouldn't be your first food that you brought back in because it's got gluten in it and it's got lactose in it and the cheese. So how would you know which one of those was one of your triggers if you bring pizza back? So you bring things back slowly, steadily over a period of time. So it could work potentially really well for that. I mean, the classic elimination diet they used to use many years ago was lamb, rice and peas, because they're the three things that most people don't have an intolerance to.
Okay.
So that used to be the classic. Nowadays, and what I tend to do with clients now is work more towards a paleo style diet.
Yeah.
So taking out dairy, taking out gluten, still quite heavy on plants, still really heavy on meat, heavy on fats, good fats. And that would be my starting point for an elimination diet these days. So it's not a million miles from this, but I think that plant diversity for me is just all important.
Yeah,
particularly we talk about gut health so much. Anybody who's ever eaten a lot of meat and had meat sweats before will know the feeling of going to the toilet the next day and feeling so constipated, right? So meat all the time just feels to me as though like it would be an absolute stay away from it when it comes to your gut health. Yeah, and I know we talked before about the claims that it's the ultimate sort of like cure for bad gut. I don't see anything in the evidence that shows that.
Okay, interesting. Right, so we've talked about that as a tool. It could be useful. Standard elimination diet. So let's flip it on the other side. Who shouldn't do a carnivore diet if they're thinking about it? If there was an underlying condition, or anything, who shouldn't do it, or can anybody do it? What are you thinking?
I'd advise that if you're going to do it, I think you want to do it under some form of supervision, so you can speak to somebody who knows a little bit more about nutrition and gut health than you might do yourself. So that is the first thing that I'd say if you're thinking about doing it. You might want to try it for short-term weight loss, see if that helps. I don't think there's anybody who really shouldn't try it if they really, really want to. I mean, we aren't here to be the food police, right? I don't want to tell people not to do something if they want to do it. I would rather say, well, okay, let's look at how you can do it, how it fits into your lifestyle, and let's see if it works for you. Because, we're human petri dishes, right? We've said this before, you and I have been talking about things. We're all so individual. So many things will plow into how you eat food, how you digest it, how it's cooked. We've talking about doing a podcast actually on gut health. Your gut health effectively starts in your mouth. The chewing of food is so important for breaking food down and helping you digest it properly. Most of us just gulp food, right? And just knock it straight down. So I would say, try it as an experiment, see how you feel. If you want to try it, if you can get some help from somebody who knows what they're doing, they might be able to help you read the symptoms and see how it makes you feel. I would suggest that you don't want to be on it for too long, if you do try it.
There we go. Yeah. That was going to be my next question. What is the consensus on long-term sustainability? Is it something that is it viable for a long-term like diet / lifestyle, or if you were to do it long-term, are you playing Russian roulette with your nutrition?
I'm not sure you're playing Russian roulette. What I would say is my experience of anybody who restricts foods in their diet, when we're talking about a healthy, whole food diet, ends up getting bored, right?
I don't know. I love steak.
I love steak as well, but I probably couldn't eat it 3 times a day.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Do you know what's interesting? Because I was actually thinking about this. One of the big things, and we haven't talked about it, like when I do the carnivore, so I do fasting. So because I'm on it and what I'm eating, I'm very much along the lines of, like, I could go from 8 p.m. the night before all the way through to my meal again the next night, 24 hours. Now, I know that that's not the window, but you said something earlier in the podcast, which is absolutely on point. Like when I go past a certain point of my fasting, like I am sharp. Like my brain is just like, you know what I mean? The focus, the sharp, and this is what we were talking about. So this is why I said it's like nuanced, isn't it?
There's an element there of you heading into ketosis.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean.
So you're heading into ketosis. You release ketones. Ketones are good for brain health. So, why would you not feel sharp?
Yeah, exactly.
Is a long-term fasting protocol good for you, as in, should you go 3, 4, 5, 7 days? I'd argue that at some point you probably need some food in your life.
Yeah, maybe. But like, one of the most famous people who just has one meal a day, Chris Martin from Coldplay, lives by it. That guy looks like he's 30 years old.
I know he's also a massive prat, but
yeah, I know. But what I'm trying to say is, some people like
loads of people like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm not here to judge. Well, sometimes I do. But the thing is, when you look at him, right, he has one meal a day. He's very much whole foods. He's a massive advocate of it. And I look at him, he's like, it's not just how he looks appearance-wise, but his mobility, his energy, like everything.
He's also a multimillionaire pop star who is probably not bogged down by a 9-to-5 job, looking after the kids, going and doing the supermarket run, worrying about his parents. He will have a trainer. He will have a nutritionist who's working with him. He will have help all over the place. And I think once you've got that perfect setup, it's much easier to be able to fix your lifestyle around that.
Yeah,
Most of us don't have that, I don't think.
Yeah, I hear you, but that doesn't stop you from doing one meal a day and fasting.
No, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm talking more about the dietary side of it, the whole lifestyle side. Yeah, absolutely. If you're lucky enough to have the finances to access that, then absolutely. But the one meal a day side is like, and I only use him as an example because he's one of the famous ones. Because I feel it on a very low level, and I do 2 jobs. Have a kid. I do the shop. I do all the cooking. Still work out, still active. Yeah. And I know everybody's different, but what I'm trying to say is it's like, and I can still do all that on one meal a day. You're
also an outlier, though, that you look after your health in lots and lots of different ways. Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise somebody who's just trying to sort of like change something up in their life to just suddenly go to one meal a day. I think it's too far, too soon for people. And when it comes to sort of like fasting, if you want to call it that, protocols, I prefer to call it time-restricted eating. Because fasting to me is more that long-term, week, 2 weeks, whatever it may be.
I don't do that.
Time-restricted eating, I would say, your window for most people, a good one is somewhere between 8, 10, potentially 12 hours, which is what most of us would do naturally anyway, right? So it's like, I tend to try not to eat after 7 o'clock at night. Have something to eat again 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm probably doing 13, maybe 14 hours of a fast. It's why breakfast is called breakfast, because you're breaking your fast overnight. And it's one of those things of historical long-term eating habits that people have done for millennia and has pretty much served us well. We've lasted a long time as a species.
Yeah.
And if the thing that seems to have mucked us up over the last century or so is introducing loads of crap into our diets. Sugary cereals, over-processed carbs, excessively processed foods, ultra-processed foods, all those kind of things, are not helping us. Well, in fact, if anything, evolutionary-wise, we're potentially going backwards as a species rather than
big time
forwards.
Well, let's jump on that breakfast one, because I heard that breakfast was a fairly new concept over the past 100 years, and it was created by a cereal company. But we'll come back on to
cereals for breakfast is obviously created by a cereal company.
We'll come to that, because the big thing about the carnivore diet is people sometimes call it the caveman diet.
Yeah.
And then the thing that I take from the caveman diet is that fasting was a massive part of it, because they did not know when the next meal was coming, and that's how the body kind of works.
100%. But what they did do is they would eat like bastards when they had lots of food present, and then they wouldn't have any food. So what they were doing was stocking up to go forward. It was the ultimate thing of a squirrel, keeping nuts in its cheeks or whatever. Eat as much as you can while there's stuff around, and then if your next meal's not round the corner, you've got to wait until you kill a woolly mammoth, or it's winter and there's no crops around or anything.
Could you imagine killing a woolly mammoth? But the key thing about the caveman diet, and this is where it gets all warped, is they were massive vegetarians. They had meat and plants.
Yeah.
Because it's whatever they could find. So that's the thing.
Yeah. So carnivore, caveman, paleo are all sort of like part of the same
ecosystem.
subsection or ecosystem. Exactly. Yeah. With some of them being more extreme. Carnivore is obviously the most extreme. Lions are probably the most extreme. Then carnivore. Then you're looking at paleo, caveman. Probably interchangeable terms almost, because paleo comes from Paleolithic. And so, yeah, eating foods as we would have done many, many years ago, absolutely is a good lifestyle choice, because that's how we grew up, evolution.
Yeah, big time. Right, let's move on to the final part of the podcast, which I absolutely love. It's the hype check part of the Health Hype roast. Okay, let's do it then. So, James, it's time to roast the carnivore hype, because while some people report feeling great initially, I kind of feel like you've explained why that happens.
Yeah.
There is a dark side to this diet that social media completely ignores. So let's look at the actual health risks of this. So first off, you hear this a lot, and even like across the cholesterol bomb. Talk to us.
So my understanding is that some people don't see any change in their cholesterol levels at all on a carnivore diet. Some people's cholesterol tends to go up. When it tends to go up, there tends to be a dramatic rise in what is called LDL cholesterol. There are two types of cholesterol that we need to sort of be aware of. HDL is the technically good cholesterol. LDL, and I don't like using good and bad terms, but it's a less health-giving cholesterol, right? So if you see that doubling or tripling, that can be a challenge. And so, LDL does play a causal role in sort of hardening of the arteries. So are you more susceptible to potential sort of like cardiovascular problems? Potentially, but we've probably not got enough evidence yet to say one way or another. What I would say is that if you do see your LDL levels rising dramatically, carnivore is probably not
for you.
Because it's probably not your bag. Yeah.
Do you know what I find really interesting? What you said there, because I was one of them, and a lot of people will probably fall in this bucket where they have a perception that all cholesterol is bad. And you've just said there's good and bad there.
Yeah.
Just quickly jump into that.
It's probably a podcast on its own, right?
Well, let's just leave it there.
Yeah, because it's a wide subject. There's a lot of nuance there. It's not just about sort of like the LDL and the HDL, that technically bad and technically good cholesterols. It's more about the balance between the two that's important, and the total amount of cholesterol that's in your body. And then you want to look at things like, your ratios of cholesterol compared to other elements of your fat metabolism. And so it's a really wide subject, but it's probably worth doing an explainer podcast at some point where we just dive into cholesterol on its own. But safe to say, you're absolutely right. Some people do think that total cholesterol is a problem. It's not always a problem, the total levels.
So this is another podcast. Yeah. Great. I love it when new podcasts topics come out. Okay.
Well, we could have had about 60 out of the ones we've done today.
This one. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we talked about the cholesterol bomb, right? Scurvy and nutrient deficit risk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, scurvy is quite one of those diseases that you think has left us, right? You need vitamin C to avoid scurvy. There's not much vitamin C in meat. In fact, there's no vitamin C in meat.
No.
So you really want you need fruit and vegetables. So
and if there is, you got what you're eating.
Yeah. But the truth is that there are loads of nutrients, folate, potassium, some plant compounds that you only get in plants, and we know that they support health. There's stacks and stacks of evidence show that they support health. So it's not just scurvy. You're narrowing the amount of nutrients that you get in your body if you stick to carnivore. That's pure and simple. The wider range of plant food you have, along with lean proteins, along with good fats, the more overall nutrients, antioxidants, minerals, vitamins you're adding into your diet. Which is why I think going wide, natural, whole is kind of the best advice you can give the general population, because we've said before, people react differently to some things. And there are cases of people who on carnivore seem to be doing very well. I don't know where they will be in a year or 2 years' time or 3 years' time, because we don't have that evidence yet. So, let's wait and see. So I don't think we're actually sort of like shooting it down totally. We're saying there's some pretty good elements about it. But I hate everything's black and everything's white, because the truth is, most times it's nuanced and it's somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
So I like what you said about that, because we'll do this, the last two. So this is close to me because of gut health. So it's the fibre the lack of fibre.
Well,
What is?
So I kind of skirted around this earlier on. Gut bacteria have evolved with us over thousands and millions of years to help us digest food, metabolize food, help us with our energy levels. So many different positives come from having a really diverse microbiome, having as many different species as you can in varying levels. Okay, so once fibre drops to zero, what happens is those microorganisms don't have any food anymore. And when they don't have any food, they can't do their job properly.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a real challenge for me when it comes to this. Given that we're such advocates of gut health and the importance of gut health, and we know that fibre helps with gut health, it would seem mad to me to take it to zero as a long-term lifestyle choice. If you want to try it every so often for a little bit of variation, or see if it does work for you, or attempt to see whether ketosis is your bag or not, give it a go for a short time. But it's not, for me, it's not a long-term solution.
Yeah. I mean, because one of the things is like, if you're just eating steak and eggs or red meat and eggs, as some of the biggest social media influencers talk about and promote, are the bugs in your system, are they getting anything from that? Because obviously we know that fibre is like the superfood, like what they crave, but are they getting anything from it?
I would suggest very little.
Yeah.
I mean, they've evolved as bacteria to chow down on fibre, right? If your fibre's dropped to zero.
So what are they eating? Or do they just die?
That's a good question. I don't know. There might be some die-off. You might end up having a reduced microbiome. I don't
know. Get rid of the bad. So do you know how sometimes you'll get bad bugs in there?
Well, again, I think the good-bad thing is a little bit of a misnomer. What tends to happen more is there are certain species that when they're in higher levels, that can give you some challenges. So really you want, things like there are certain ones that produce a substance called butyrate. They're in the category that you want more of. Butyrate helps. It's a fuel that helps, provide energy for your gut to work properly and for your body to work properly. And so, it's important that those are in some kind of abundance and relatively high levels. So I don't know anybody who's in a microbiome test before going on a carnivore diet and then doing one afterwards. But I'd be really interested.
We should do it
to see that as an experiment and just.
How long would we do it for?
I don't know.
We should do that.
Try it for a month.
What? Can I just eat steak and eggs for a month? No.
You're doing one meal a day, though, aren't you? So you could.
Yeah, I know, but then that would be really boring.
Yeah.
Could I do that?
But can you see whether
we do it for a short term?
Well, we could try it for a couple of weeks
and just see. We'll notice the difference, won't we?
Yeah. Well, we see a difference in the microbiome tests. I think the key thing, the other thing there, of course, is that microbiome tests are a snapshot of that day that you have it done.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the fact that 2 weeks later you could do it again, you could actually map those against each other and see how they work. But what you just said brings me straight back to the thing that I said earlier, because as soon as I said to you, 4 weeks of steak and eggs, you're like, could I eat 4 weeks of steak and eggs? Probably not. That boredom kicks in pretty quickly, right? Even the thought of it, you're already going, God, could I actually last that long on just steak and eggs? You love eggs, you love steak, we know that. Yeah, but could you eat 4 weeks of it? The answer is probably not. And for most people, it's probably not.
Yeah,
as well. So I think, long term, even people who are advocates of it, I would question if they kind of adhere to it, or do they give themselves off days? I don't know some of the more nuanced protocols that people might do. But if you're talking about, carnivore just being meat, and nothing else, then you're going to get pretty bored.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, big time.
You can't even use herbs and spices, right? Technically.
Well, no, but do you know what? You can you can use butter, though. You see butter for the steaks and stuff.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be salted butter.
I don't know. Just throw it on.
Yeah, salt's not a meat product, right? Parsley's not a meat product. Oregano's not a meat product. Yeah, so what do you start flavouring your food with? Does it
So maybe they are getting maybe they don't even realise, because most people don't know herbs and spices are part of the 30 veg.
Exactly.
So maybe they don't even know they're getting it.
Yeah.
Okay,
maybe.
interesting. Right, last one, but I feel like we've covered this, but let's just reiterate it to end with the feel-good illusion that happens. I think you've already explained this, but just very quickly.
Well, let's go again, right? So in the first few weeks, people who are fans of it tend to say that they've lost some weight, they feel as though their blood sugar is more balanced. Well, why does that happen? Your glycogen stores, so your stored carbs, are reduced. Stored carbs tend to carry a little bit of water with them. So if you've got no stored carbs, you're losing that water.
Mm-hmm.
Effectively, you're losing weight. So question there, are you losing weight because you're actually losing body fat? Are you losing weight because you're actually losing muscle mass? Or are you just actually losing water from your diet? So that's one thing that I question. The other thing that I'd say is, it's a lot of protein, obviously. In fact, most of the diet is protein, right? Protein is the most satiating hormone. It's the one that keeps you fuller for longer. So are you then eating less? And is that leading to the actual lesser weight? And then when it comes to sort of like the brain foggy things and feeling sharper, more mental acuity, probably comes from ketones, which comes from actually fat oxidation, so burning more fat. You can achieve ketosis doing an Atkins diet, which is the flip of this, which is all fats, some meat, and fewer vegetables. But even Atkins has got some vegetables in it. So you can achieve ketosis that way as well. And the other thing, of course, is that if you are reducing most of the foods that could be triggers for you, or most of the foods that would naturally make you feel crap. So again, we're talking about sort of like processed sugars, cakes, sweets, booze, all those things. If you're taking all those out, are you going to feel better? You are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether that is a long-term effect beyond that initial supercharging of it, and whether you feel the same after you've actually been on a month of steak and eggs, I'd say that's open to question.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because a lot of the studies now, and we've known it for quite a while, but sugar is one of the most damaging things for us. When you find it, like the hidden sugars in the process, not the stuff. Not a lot of. I want to do a podcast on it because I don't fully understand it. Because there's got to be good sugars and bad sugars.
But
we'll talk about that in another one.
Podcast that we could do is actually food labeling.
Yeah, because that's
food labeling is really interesting. The number of different names for sugar and milk that you will see on a package and not even know that it's sugar and milk that's in there is mad.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. We need to talk about that. Okay, cool. So that was an awesome podcast. Yeah. It felt like that to me. I've learned a lot from that one. So I'm going to try to do what I normally do, summarize it, the bottom line in one succinct paragraph, and you can just tell me if I'm on point or not. So bottom line, eliminating processed foods is great.
Absolutely.
But villainizing plants and eating nothing but beef is an extreme response to a modern lifestyle problem. Yeah. You don't need to throw away your apples to get healthy. James, as always, thanks for keeping us grounded in real science. Stay informed, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Much. See you on the next episode where we are going to be diving into gut health. Have a good one.
Sip the truth, spit the hype, light the fuse and make it toast. We're calling out the nonsense on the health hype roast. Roast it, toast it, if it's rubbish we expose it. Gut gang riding, booch bottles coasting. Welcome to the health hype roast, kid, where your wellness gets slow cooked in motion. Cold plunges, detox teas, everyone's a wellness ghost. But we don't buy the nonsense on the health hype roast. Facts over fads, mate, we're serving up the truth the most. Pull up a chair and sip along, we're raising gut health toast. Roast it, toast it, if it's rubbish we expose it. Gut gang riding, booch bottles coasting. Welcome to the health hype roast, kid, where your wellness gets slow cooked in motion. From Mr. Miracle Cures, every claim gets diagnosed. We slice through all the bull on the health hype roast. So bring your trends and TikTok hacks, we'll serve them hot, not toast. If it ain't real, it's getting grilled, consider that hype ghosted. Roast it, toast it, if it's rubbish we expose